Hey guys, you know who it is, what's going on, when it's happening, where it's at, and why we're here today. How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent Big Ugly himself, Omari Ellisfeo Grande on YouTube, back with some more talks about, pop culture things. I would say movie talk, but we're not doing a movie this week. Nonetheless, this guy hasn't seen, and of course, we're talking about things, and when I say we, I am including the gentleman to my side, one of my best friends in the world, El Director himself, Bill Smith.
Hello, Omari, and I am so sorry. This one is a tough one this week. It's a big one. It's a real big one. It's our meatiest one of the series so far, and I think in all reality, this is probably our cap. I mean, like a 25 episode half-hour series is going to be about this same time, and I don't know if we can handle
anymore. I don't know if you can handle anymore.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me back.
No problem. Every time. You know how it is. Yes, that's right. This guy hasn't seen. And this week, well, normally, like I said, we do movies, but this week we did something different, kind of similar to when I did the anime series a while back with Fooly Cooley. This time we decided to do another series, this time an HBO series. And what HBO series would that be, buddy?
We watched the 2020 series Lovecraft Country on HBO, created by Misha Green, produced by Jordan Peele and one J.J. Abrams.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah, I think I saw that in the opening credits and was like, Jordan Peele. All right. Yeah. So how did you get around to seeing this?
So this show I saw, I think, as it was new. I chose this show because pulling back the entire process here. It was rewind to weeks ago. We were at the end of one of our chats, and we were discussing about whatever film we had just chosen. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at what I was going to be choosing, and I was about ready to choose The Harder They Fall. The reason why I was about ready to choose that film is because it stars a young man named Jonathan Majors. And I absolutely fell in love with Jonathan Majors and think he's going to be a superstar, and he's about ready to be Kang in many films in the MCU. And I kind of just I wanted him to be represented in our chats early on before he blew up, kind of thing.
Well, if it helps, already saw The Harder They Fall.
Okay. And he ended up seeing that film anyway.
That's what Idris Elba as well, right?
Correct.
And a bunch of other black actors and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So I was about ready to recommend that movie for that reason, and in just in a weird bug in my head, I all of a sudden was like, wait a minute, you haven't watched Lovecraft Country either. I know that. And I went ahead and I Googled Lovecraft Country and saw 10 episodes, hour episodes each. And I say, Omari, 10 episodes, hours each. If I tell you that now, and that's going to be my next pick, so we have technically 3 weeks to get this done. Are you cool with that? You say yes. So I cancel Harder They Fall, and I choose a different movie.
Okay.
I immediately have regretted that decision from that moment until now, because I've only felt like it's an abusive choice on my part.
No.
It's a lot of time. It's a really heavy watch. I already know you don't really like heavy watches. I already know you don't really like horror, which 3 episodes of these 10 episodes is basically just straight up horror. And you don't really love, I don't know how to phrase it, like...
All right, I'll phrase
Plightful.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's, yes.
With much plight.
Yes, that's a good way to phrase it. So on that, as to why I hadn't seen it, I hadn't heard of it. 2, I hear Lovecraft. I think H.P. Lovecraft, which I'm pretty sure is what they're still referencing when they say that, because I think Lovecraft Country is in reference to where the books take place. So it's like, yeah, up in Lovecraft Country where he writes his shit about. Okay, so, but when I think Lovecraft, I think Cthulhu. And while Cthulhu is a big meme of horror and everybody knows Cthulhu, ooh, Tentacle Man, Cthulhu's never really been my thing. I've never hated Cthulhu, but I've never been like, ha, Cthulhu, let me put him in everything. But that's because I had a lot of friends when I was younger that were super Cthulhu heads, and I'm just like, I don't get it. So yeah. Cthulhu or horror in general, like you said, not my thing. Shortly into the first episode, it's a semi-initial reaction, but not an actual one, but just to go piggyback off of your point.
Uh-huh.
It's hard being black in America is also not necessarily my genre, primarily because the plight of the African American in this country is, well, that's life. I don't. I feel for me when it comes to heavy things in general, or that as well. I'm not going to turn something down just because of it. I know that it's good, and I will watch things from it, but I don't go out of my way to see things like that because I don't need to be educated on. It's weird to say. It feels rude to say it like that. But like, I don't need to be educated on how hard it is to be black in America. I live it, and I'm trying to live in spite. Like for me, when it comes to the whole topic of racism and race in general, my whole thing, as opposed to, and I guess just sad shit in general, is like there is a moment where you can recognize it, you can be sad about it, but that can only help so much. Trying to rise above or do things in spite of whatever obstacles have been put in front of you. Yes, it's hard here, but you want to talk about 2022 versus, 1950 something. We can talk about that. So you have a lot better chances of trying to rise above it and do things in spite of it. And people are also more receptive now than they were back then. Not fully receptive, but that's a topic for another day. But people are more receptive of it now, of change. So I've always just been in the mindset of, yes, the past was terrible. Yes, the president's not good either, but it's better than the past, and the future can be better than both. But we have to at least try to look at the world in a lens that, yes, here's the bright side of things, because dwelling on negativity too long doesn't help. So That's why, and with the combination of the two things, which I'm kind of glad you didn't tell me that, because it didn't make me preemptively put an image in my head about the show.
Honestly, I didn't even consider it until 5 minutes into the episode. And I was like, oh, fuck, this entire thing is about race. Is about being black in America. Fuck. I forgot. That's what I was telling you. Like, I picked this purely because I am obsessed with this dude, Jonathan Majors. Why. Like, I love him. I've loved him in everything. The Harder They Fall. If we could have done an episode of that, it would have essentially been me going, yeah, the movie's okay, but Jonathan fucking Majors, man, he has my heart and soul. That's that what if episode.
Yeah, it would have been our second Idris Elba thing as well.
But So yeah, I'm just a huge fan of his. So when I selected it, I was just thinking, man, this is a great show that not a whole lot of people watched because it was in that little bit of dark space on HBO post Game of Thrones ending so badly and pre the huge boom of HBO Max.
Yeah.
When HBO Max was starting to get the movies that were in theaters and stuff like this dropped right at the start of the pandemic, maybe even a little bit of 2019.
Gotcha.
IMDb has it listed as a 2020 thing, but I feel like I watched it pre-pandemic, but I could be wrong. And there were a couple of months there before pre-pandemic.
Yeah, early 2020, there was some good months. I was like, oh yeah, hey.
So yeah, it was just I felt like it was just in this little bit of space where everyone I ran into had never even heard of it or seen it. And I was thinking, all right, that's a good show. Let's choose that one. Jonathan Majors. And then 5 minutes into the episode, I was like, damn it. Right.
Yeah, be guilt for you. And as far as the length of the series, like I said, when I was like joking earlier, you're like, that's way too much for us. I'm like, it's way too much for you. God. I'm like, 3 weeks for 10 episodes of this length is plenty of time. I kind of procrastinated, so the only reason I felt any kind of time crunch is because I procrastinated as long as I did. But I pretty much within the span of a weekend, I caught up with the whole thing. It was like, all right. Like when you sent me the message, I think Sunday, like, how's it coming? I'm like thinking to myself, I've watched 2 episodes. And I was like streaming. And so I was like, I've watched a few, gonna marathon some more later. I'm like, I'm not gonna be like, I can't do it, man. Well, let's push it back a week. Nah. I was feeling guilty because I'm like, this man gave me 3 weeks to watch this. Here I am.
It's going to be like your other show where there's going to be a sudden episode that's called This Guy Has Seen. And it's just one of us talking about the movie that we've seen.
Whatever I want. I'm not sure if you caught the theme song for that one, but I just put up like pictures of me.
No, I don't think I did.
You see it each picture. I guarantee it. Yeah, so that's why I hadn't seen it, because horror generally isn't my thing. Cthulhu, who does not make an appearance or even a mention in this.
Well, I mean,
because Lovecraft did other stuff than Cthulhu.
What's he? What is the monster in the very first scene that is just a dream by our main character?
I don't know.
I thought that was Cthulhu.
Oh, is it?
I thought he was in the background fucking shit up.
Well, they don't mention him.
So from what
they mention other Lovecraftian things.
From what I believe, this purely started from a little brain idea from Jordan Peele of apparently supposedly H.P. Lovecraft was a gigantic racist. And so this started from just a little like what if of Jordan Peele of like, well, what if we took some of the core of his shit and the time period in which he was writing some of that shit and make it about black people, the people that he hated.
Yeah.
and then that's, and this is during the time where Jordan Peele had just done Get Out, and he has a blank check offer from anybody on the table.
Get Out, another horror film about being black in America and racism.
It's kind of a theme of his.
Yes.
So first initial reactions is kind of, we discovered that on Fooly Cooley. It's kind of hard to really give first initial reactions because you almost have an initial reaction on every single episode. But like first you got the dream experience, that's crazy, and nothing like that will happen in the show again. Maybe arguably until the very final moments of the climax of the series.
Yeah.
But as like, let's say we're 20 minutes into episode 1. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so
Fuck you, Bill.
No. By 20 minutes, not so much. At the beginning, I was caught off guard because it started with the fucking dream sequence, like you said, fucking World War II flash. I thought World War II. I didn't know how long ago. I think it was more the Korean War or something based off of later plot point reveals. But either way, war flashback, I'm like, well, wasn't expecting that. Aliens, what the fuck? Okay, this has to be a dream. It turned out to be a dream. I'm like, and then once it said 1950s, and I saw like the stuff in the car, like, oh, so it's Cthulhu plus it's hard for black folks. Okay. We'll see how this is. But again, I got attractive into. I didn't know what to expect from the series because I got hit with World War II, or what I was calling World War II, aliens, fucking waking up. Now we got a kid drawing comic books in the car, or drawing comics at the house, and then they're like, let's go on a road trip to Artem. I'm just like, what is this? You know, you got the two sisters having a random concert where Jonathan Majors comes out and busts open a fire hydrant. This is all over the place. And then they get to the restaurant, which I'll say that's probably around the like midpoint, where they go to the restaurant on the stop of the road. They decide to take Letitia, the light-skinned sister of the two sisters. Letitia, a.k.a. Letty. Yes, aka Letty, the main character Atticus, also known as Tick, because Atticus is too long of a phrase to say all the time, which I was like, okay, yeah, I guess, fair. Tick is the main character, and they're going with their Uncle George. They get to a restaurant, and while they're in the restaurant, it's a white-owned restaurant. They walk in and they're like, our money's as good here as anybody else's. And the second they get in there and they sit at the table, I'm like, who's going to attack them at this white restaurant? Because that's the kind of thing this is. Somebody's going to do it. And then sure enough, the cops show up and start shooting at them. And it's like, what the? Well, there it is. Like I said, there was one of those things where there was a little bit of, I don't want to watch 10 episodes of this.
Yeah.
But
literally, yeah.
But I couldn't stop. And then they got saved. I'm like, oh, a surprise saving by some random white chick. She's going to be important. You know. And then they make it to like a hotel. And Uncle George calls his wife and he's like, I'm thinking about it. What if we take the next trip together? Okay. I said, Unc's gonna die.
Yeah, that's death. That's death. That's death.
Uncle's gonna die. I just remember typing it, and then later another fucking cop scene. I was like, oh my god, yes, I get it. You ever heard of a sundown county or sundown city or whatever? Or yeah, you heard of Sundown City? Yeah, this is Sundown County. You better get out of here by sundown, and then random.
It creates quite the interesting chase sequence of maintaining a 25-mile-an-hour speed, and like the stress of the scene is
but needing to get out of the county by sundown, only to find more dudes just waiting for you in the next county.
Right.
And then they lead him into the woods, and I was just like, what the hell? Again, I had forgotten about the whole Lovecraft and horror aspect of it. Yeah. I was just like, oh, this is... okay, maybe this is all race. I don't know what's going to go on. And then the monsters show up. And I was like, oh. And apparently I did type it in my notes. Calling it now, white chick is controlling the monsters. I was like, calling it out, white chick is controlling the monsters. But then I got caught off by them making it to the other house, and the dude's just like, "Welcome home." So, but I was intrigued. I was confused, but with all the shit with the monster attacks, and obviously that's a big standout moment, just when they first start attacking the cops and ripping them apart and stuff, and everything involved with that. But the welcome home, I'm like, okay, I really don't know what's happening now. Why welcome home? Clearly, this might be a trap. It's got to be a trap.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see where this goes.
I think right away I want to mention at episode 1, because it's going to be a frequent standout for me in general, is just the overall bar of acting. For me, is I feel like everybody who's doing a thing is doing something really interesting and is getting me.
I will give you that
emotionally and grabbing me. Like Journey Smollett is Letty, and she does an incredible job.
Any relation to?
Yes, I think there's 3 of them, I think, in total of siblings who are all working actors or actresses. She is most famously, before now, the young black girl who would come over and be friends with Michelle in Full House.
Really?
Yeah. I did not
know she's been in acting that long.
That is Journey Smollett, and then she's just recently kind of getting her adult acting career going.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, you have her. Obviously, I've already talked everyone's ear off on Jonathan Majors. Uncle George is Courtney B. Vance. You have at this point in episode 1, you have Letty's sister Ruby, played by Wunmi Mosaku, and she's a very interesting, very deep character. I feel like she is a little performative at times, but I think that's also part of the character. Yeah. Because fast forward to deep in the series, maybe episode 7 or 8, the weird white lady even calls her out at one point and is like, "Stop this performative bullshit." I know. Yeah. I know you don't feel that way, truly.
Oh, yeah.
But no, that's jumping way ahead. So yeah, I just think I think they're all doing very deep, nuanced things. Not to mention someone who I don't think we even meet in this episode, and we won't meet until episode 2. Michael K. Williams, rest in peace, who is just
Pops Montrose.
Yeah. Are you finding this out live right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's like within the year.
Damn.
Within this year.
Damn, he's a legend. That dude is great in like just about everything I see
he's just a natural. Like it sounds actory and pompous, but I feel like it's the only thing to say to some folks of just like they just exist. Like it's not acting. They're just it's just them becoming, and it's crazy how good he is. So yeah, I just wanted to make a highlight on the acting before we jumped to episode 2 called Whitey's on the Moon. If you have any interest in what we've described and you haven't watched this yet, we're about ready to get super spoilery. So episode 2 is mostly taking place with the 3 road trippers. Yeah. Kind of trapped in the mansion. Yeah. Eventually finding Dad.
Mm-hmm. As early as so as the episode starts, I was just I have an early theory that the main part, or that the people in the house want to eat or kill the main party. The vibes I'm getting off these people in that regard are hella strong.
Yeah, super creepy vibes.
That's something that I've also started to notice I do a lot now that I've gotten older is try/not try to call things. Not like I go out of my way with everything, but the second something pops up in my head, because I've noticed that I was right a bit more often than I used to be, I'm just like, just because I've seen so many stories, so I'm like this, and then I'm pleasantly surprised if it goes different. So a lot in this series goes different than what I would have thought. But I'm also, if it doesn't, it's not like it ruins it if I do call him. Like, it's not like, oh, which, by the way, yes, the people in the house wanted to kill the main party. Who would have guessed, right? It's racism in the 50s, and here's a house of white people inviting these black people into their house in a county that hates black people. It's not even like, oh, we went to the northern part of the country where they're less racist. No, literally, we just had the cops saying it's a sundown county. We're gonna fucking kill you. That and the lady outside with the dogs was just still being racist. Just, yeah, y'all in the area just shouldn't be like fucking dogs. I'm like, oh, I hope he just decks this bitch right in the face. Like,
yeah. At this in this episode we meet I guess like Daddy Braithwaite, find out he's like leader of like a magic cult, like an ancient magic cult, passed down through the Braithwaite line, and at some point he took a slave of his and started having sex with her, and eventually that slave had babies. And that line, Atticus's line, has the magic Braithwaite blood.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's why Atticus is important to this family.
Yes, they're going to attempt this like cult, the Sons of Adam or whatever. They're trying to attempt a
Sons
ritual.
Of Adam, that's right.
They're trying to attempt a ritual due to Tick's lineage, as you were saying. And it's and then they actually, I think they get to the point where not only do we eventually find his dad, because that's why they went on the road trip.
Right. I mean, the entire the byline of the series, which I normally read much earlier than now, is a young African American travels across the U.S. in the 1950s in the search of his missing father. Like that is the
summation that they give you.
That's the start of the journey. That's why Atticus has come home.
Yes, so
because his father is missing.
And he got a note saying, hey, look in this area up in Lovecraft country. But yeah, they eventually find him. They get to the fucking by the way, episode 2 fucking starting with the Jeffersons theme. As Uncle George and Letty are just chilling in the house, and then like trying out the like rich stuff. So I'm like, all right, Jefferson's theme, and then it kept going too. I'm like, oh, they played the whole damn themes. But yeah, boy, we're gonna talk stand up. What was the thing when he meets Daddy Braithwaite? By the way, white chick's name, so I don't just call her white chick. Christina Braithwaite.
Christina or Christine?
Whatever.
Christina, you were right.
Okay, yeah, Christina Braithwaite. They also have a butler dude, William. But Daddy Braithwaite, when you see him, he's like getting his liver removed or some shit like that. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? And like, the hell? Then you start people having dream sequences because they're like, we're gonna cast a spell to keep them in their rooms and stuff. Fucking Tick getting attacked by some Korean lady. That's what I was like, oh, it must have been the Korean War. he got attacked by some Korean lady. He's like, Gia, no! It's like, what the hell is going on here? Letty's about to sleep with Tick, and then Dick Snake. And all the shit involved with that scene. And then Uncle George... First he finds a secret area of the mansion behind a Lovecraftian book that seemed to mirror their situation, which he was pointing out the first couple episodes. He's like, this is just like one of Lovecraft's stories. In fact, when he comes back, he starts visiting his wife when they were younger, and as he's dancing with her, he's like, what are you thinking about? The exact shit y'all doing to me right now? See, Lovecraft had a story where, people went to the house and they started seeing shit they shouldn't have seen. And I was like, is that just what he's going to do each episode? Be like, this is a Lovecraft story.
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
He's not going to do that each episode, Omari.
No.
Because they find his father and they try to escape. And what happens?
Letty gets shot.
George gets shot. The Braithwaite asshole makes Atticus choose who else dies. At this point, Letty is already dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Letty is already dead.
While they were trying to escape.
And Atticus is told that he can, either you all die or you come with me and I'll only kill one of them. And he makes him choose. And there's a little bit of hesitation and a little bit of a glance. Not even a glance, kind of like an eye twitch, maybe, towards Montrose, and George is shot.
Yep.
So that's I would say that's a big standout moment of this episode, and then we jump right into the big spell.
Yeah.
Unless you had any other notes.
No. That's pretty much what happened. They jump into the big spell because, they bring Letty back to life, and they say that they can bring the uncle back to life, but he better fucking do this ritual. He better agree to do this damn ritual. And so he's like, well, Uncle needs to come back to life, and clearly they ain't gonna let us fucking leave anyway. Mm-hmm. And they may not bring Letty back to life the next time. So he agrees to do the ritual, and they're speaking the language of Adam in this. I'm not sure if it's language of Adam is speak for another language that actually exists, or if it's just something they made up for the show. But like most foreign languages, just because you don't understand the words, it kind of sounds like gibberish. But that's fine. It's magic incantation shit. They're doing all that, and something goes wrong. Fucking explosion. The fucking temple falls on everybody. The black family escape. The main cat party, starts running to escape as best they can. Before Uncle George fully died, he hinted that Montrose might not be Tick's actual father. But because they had some last words to one another.
Right.
And then they head out, and the temple falls down, and I'm like, I did not expect these villains to die that fast. Now what? Now who's gonna be the villain? Is it? That's when I got the whole idea that, okay, I guess that was one Lovecraftian book, so this is gonna be an episodic thing.
Okay, yeah.
And sure enough, episode 3. Go, unless you got more to say with episode 2.
No, yeah. Episode 3 opens up. It's I guess so. Canonically, it's 3 weeks after George's funeral is when we open up. Letty, unexpected inheritance, able to buy this giant ass house in this white neighborhood, and then we proceed to have kind of a haunted house story layered on top of a black people moving into a white people neighborhood back in this era when that just wasn't really happening.
Yeah, and all the things involved with that. And and because it just starts with Letty buying a house. Hey, sis, let's get this house. We'll have a house together, blah, 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 blah. And I literally was like, is this episodic? Is it just, okay, this is this family in this situation? Yeah. Now that you know what they're about, because it's a bit, because Unc is dead. But it's a little weird how Letty and Ticker acted. Like, everybody else seems to be grieving, but the two of them are trying to just move on with their lives. And then I'm like, it's been 3 weeks, which I guess for the two of them, they're like, we were there when he died. We had, like, maximum grief. You know what I mean? So we've had some time to try to move on a little bit more than everybody else has. And also, I think it's implied that Letty has always been close with Tick. Letty and Ruby have always been close with Tick and his family, but they weren't like that wasn't her uncle. To be fair, when it comes to moving on, and with him, it's not like the white Hippolyta and Dee, where it's wife and kid. It's Uncle George, which while very close Uncle George. So that's why I'm like, okay, I can see with 3 weeks them being further along the path of the stages of grief than others.
Absolutely. And we should also say that it's 3 weeks later and they still have not revealed to Hippolyta what happened.
That's
and
right.
what's going on.
Yes.
They've told her that it was a crazy sheriff in a county during his guide trips.
Yes.
And he shot him. And end of story. And what are you going to do? It's a sheriff. Kind of thing. And Hippolyta is too smart for that.
Very, very smart.
We're told pretty quickly from her body language every time it's brought up that she does not believe either of them one bit from the beginning.
Yeah, they don't tell anyone else in the family aside from Montrose who knew about it, but the three of them are the only ones that know that some magic shit happened.
Right.
And magic went down. They're not telling that to anybody else in the family. Like you said, they're like, you know what, just blame it on the monsters they know. The devil the devil they know is better than the devil they don't. We don't know what the fuck happened up there. Some crazy white people came around us and we got out of it. Whatever. Magic's real. We good now. And, like you said, so they focused on real world shit. Like trying to be the first big, black house in a white neighborhood and dealing with the shit that they would do back then.
Right.
And house ended up being haunted, like you said. Apparently, one of the old Sons of Adam's elders owned that house and killed a bunch of black people and did a lot of experimentations on people.
Right. It's eventually revealed, I believe Atticus is the one who figures it out, that it's weird white lady Christina is the one who's actually been secretly funding Letty. Under the guise that it's this random inheritance from mom that has showed up, which also
led to a sister interaction where they had extra tension for no reason. She's like, oh, you heard about mom's inheritance, you didn't tell me that because you played it off as your own. God damn it. Yeah. And then it turns out she didn't even have to keep it as a secret mom inheritance because it didn't actually come from her mom. So that harmed the relationship for no reason.
Right. They have that same argument 3 different times, and it's hard to not side with Ruby each time, even though our main character is the other side of the argument. Like, she's the hero of the story. The other person we are seeing actively sleeping with the villain of the story that we know is the villain of the story. But every time they have that argument, they have it like 3 times across the series. I'm just like, it's hard to not agree with Ruby in these arguments. She's kind of a shitty sister.
And she mentions, I think, with the third one, where she's like, you may think that you are changing.
Yeah, this may feel different to you, but to me, it looks the exact same.
Yeah. You feel like, okay, this is different than the other times because this, but me, I'm like, the end result is still exactly the same thing. You're coming to me, acting like you want to be close, and in the same conversation,
simultaneously,
in the same conversation, asking me for shit. Like, we're so close now. Please, this is what's actually happened. Now I told you the truth so we can be sisters. We gotta go stop the bitch. Okay? And they're like, we gotta do this. Okay, look. Couldn't wait an hour.
So Letty eventually gets a medium there at the house. I don't recall. She has a line to tick of how she found her. I didn't clock it of what but it seems to be just like a random for hire person who signed up for this. And they put a protection on the house, which comes in very handy throughout the rest of the series. And then they also go down into the basement and, through a pretty traumatic scene, handle Letty and Atticus's spirit problem.
Yeah.
Pretty crazily. Conjure the crazy old white son of Adam member.
Get out of my house, bitch. Get out of my house, bitch.
Right. And them and all of his victims destroy him and banish him.
Yeah. Oh, standout moment in that episode for me is when they were having the house party and the lady was singing a song. She's like, I got a man who's always late. And I'm like, oh, what song is this? That's not actually the song, but I know I fucking heard this song. And then she gets like, but I love her, I'm gonna tell her. I was like, oh, I'm used to hearing this from fucking Tom and Jerry. It was a dude singing about a girl, but I started doing the chorus with, I was like, is you is or is you ain't my baby. I was like, yeah, is you is or is you ain't my baby. I always thought that was just a hilarious. That's
you just thought that was from Tom and Jerry?
No, no, I know it's not from Tom and Jerry. Oh. But for me, that's the earliest thing I ever heard it was, with the I gotta get, is you is or is you ain't my baby. I was just like, that's what song she's covering. Is you is and is you ain't my baby. That's awesome. So
I didn't even think about that that party scene. That's pretty important plot wise for the rest of the series going forward, because that is the moment that Atticus and Letty finally get together and hook up. And it's important. And that becomes important later on down the road.
And actually, is you is and is you ain't my baby
is the soundtrack to it.
She's like dancing with another guy,
right?
While he's getting it like.
I was getting jealous for him.
Yeah. No.
That was an intoxicating moment.
Yes.
By Letty.
Yes.
And I was getting jealous for him.
But yes, that was the song playing in there because it's like. Because his boy was telling him, like, you need to decide if that's yours or not. And then
if that's yours, you might want to go tell her.
Is you ain't my baby. Like, you got to ask yourself that question, buddy. Now's the time.
Yep.
So, yeah, that is an important part. But
let's see. The other things in episode 3 is that's when that's when Atticus shows up at the random place to meet Christina and tries to just execute her on the spot. And that's when we learn about the like full on invulnerability protection spell that the family has developed.
So it's not even that she wouldn't die from the bullet. He just couldn't even pull the trigger.
Yeah, that's the odd part about that scene, because that doesn't seem to be the case anywhere else in the series.
Yeah.
It's almost like a mind control moment. It's kind of odd.
Yeah.
In that regard. But yeah, that spell, I guess the invulnerability spell will also be another thing that we're just kind of, that scene is just kind of an explanatory point.
Yeah, that's an explanatory point. We have other seeds set up for the later part of the series. Like we have the because the show has a lot of plightful aspects of the time it takes place in. There was a cross burning scene, but Letty coming out here, and she does some badass shit throughout the series. Fucking love Letty. But when she just came out there and started like beating the shit out of the cars and taking the thing off.
I mean, this series has great needle drop moments.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what that song is, but that's another great, like the sound, the song is always perfect for the moment.
Yes.
Sometimes you could maybe say it's a little on the nose.
Yes.
Like is you is or is you ain't my baby. But it's still it works great.
Yeah.
I can't recall what that song was, but it was amazing.
They thought very carefully about what songs they used when, or when they decided to throw in poetry or something like that throughout, like to signify what it is. But due to her retaliation on the things, that's where it's like, hey, you meet the overly racist cop in the car. It's just like blah 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 blah. You got the Winthrop house, blah 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 blah. Just saying random racist shit, trying to piss her off.
That's all in episode 3. Man, these episodes are dense.
That's HBO's good at that. They with their little like 10 episode hour long series, they cram a lot of shit into those episodes.
Yeah.
But like you said,
we meet the captain, and he is terrible, but like in a good way. Like as an actor, you almost kind of have to respect it how much he gets you hating him.
Yeah.
Because sometimes somebody, like a character so evil, can sometimes be comical.
Yeah. Because
it's just like, dude, that like I know people existed. But the overly stereotypical like racist, sometimes it is like, okay, come on now, that's just a caricature. But no, right. he's just straight up evil, and you make it and you hate him.
Yeah, like most people in this show, if not all, he does a phenomenal job at the role he was given.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about Christina. So I think that's all for like episode 3.
I think so. Episode 4 is where Montrose, Michael K. Williams, learns that there are pages from the book stored in a vault at the Museum of Natural History.
What book? The Book of Names, which Christina also mentions that she wants and she needs an orrery for. There's this thing called the Book of Names, and that's what Montrose is like, well, there's some pages torn out of it at this museum over in where you said.
Well, no, I was wrong. I thought it was the Natural History Museum in DC, but they went to Boston. Apparently it's a museum in Boston. And most of the episode is their travel to Boston, going to the Natural History Museum, where Hippolyta and Dee join in for a little bit, but it's really just a ruse to get them to find out what actually happened to George.
Yeah.
They're planning on taking a detour as soon as they drop them off at the museum, basically.
Yeah. Also, she mentions the word orrery and what it is, and we immediately cut to one in the uncle's shop. I'm like, so that's the orrery that she's looking for. It's not where they think it is. It's literally right there.
Right. Yeah. Hippolyta found it in Letty's house, which is the whole reason why Christina got Letty to buy the house, is because she knew that the orrery was probably there. and she wanted her to find it and give it to her. And Hippolyta found it first and just straight up stole it. I'm sure she was probably just like, I'm the only person who's smart enough or cares about this. Like, this is maybe the greatest thing I'll ever own, and none of them even know what it is. So I'm just gonna take this shit. Yeah. And she just straight up took it.
All right, well, damn. I also thought it was hilarious when they were meeting at the library to talk about things. Atticus and her, they had the little bit with the annoyed kid. Shh. I was like, okay, what is this? Shh. Came and dropped his book on the table like, ah!
So they stay after hours at the museum. Run through little obstacle course. You had the crazy fucking bridge that looked like it was a bridge to nowhere as far as the perspective was concerned. And so you have that whole scene of just kind of Indiana Jonesing through that sequence. Again, I would say Michael K. Williams just continues to just be doing incredible things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The friend shows up whose name is Seymour, and I was like, suddenly Seymour joins the party. But no, when they're in the museum and Dee and Hippolyta are looking at the stars and she talks about a constellation, she's like, I named that blah blah blah, but they don't tell people, they took credit. And he's like, but they need to know. Well, we know. She's like, y'all see that? My mama named that, and that's why it's named whatever constellation. Now they know it too. Yep. That was just a cool moment, because I don't know about if I would yell it like that just knowing me.
Right.
And when I say I don't know, I literally don't. I feel like I would probably I'm not gonna yell it, but at the same time, I do have random moments where I'm like, fuck it, center of attention time. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know how I would, but the pride you would feel knowing it and saying it would still be nice. And so that was cool.
Looking ahead, it's so they finally get into the vault, and they find this random lady guarding the few pages. Atticus is able to communicate with her.
Yeah.
And we learn a little bit of info, but nothing.
She was kept there by said dude. Right.
Yeah, by the Braithwaite dude or whatever. And
yeah, she was and they kind of free her from that.
Right, but the moment they take the pages, it starts to
crumble in on itself.
Right. Again, this is kind of an Indiana Jonesing sequence. This whole thing.
I was thinking Cape of Wonders, but same diff.
Right. And so the whole place starts to flood. They all barely escape. And then I guess they're heading back to Chicago. Yeah. And then we have the very final moments. Is there any other standouts before that?
The near drowning scene terrified the shit out of me just because I've nearly drowned a few times. So that was... yeah. There are some... Because we talk about acting and stuff, there are some things I always worry about when it comes to doing actors. I'm eventually going to have to do a movie where they have those underwater things. Which, yeah, I'll burn that bridge when I cross it, but damn. That's still terrifying to think about.
Some people just literally can't do it.
Yeah.
They've had to cancel things, get out of gigs, recast. Yeah. Because people just don't have the ability to get that panicked look out of their eyes whenever they're being filmed underwater.
But yeah.
So they
I
all
guess we
get back to
the
Chicago.
end. Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, great. We got a new team. We've got added pages. Oh yeah.
One more thing before we get back. The butler gets tailed. Oh no, Christina gets tailed back to her house by the cops, and then the butler comes out and beats their ass. And like Miss Braithwaite don't like it. I'm like, oh, so he's one of those butlers, all right? Because you always got the badass butler dude
right.
that like does something, and those butlers are always like that just pumps them up a tier. Like, oh, badass butler, awesome. So I was like, that's a pretty cool scene. So I can't wait to see what more he does in the future. And yeah, the fucking. Get to the. I just wanted to mention that we saw something like that where she walks in, he comes out and beats their ass and stuff.
Right. So the like the corpse reanimated lady guardian of the pages. I'm seeing now her name is Yahima.
Yes.
They bring her back. And they're all like, all right, sweet. We got these pages. We've got a person who like knows the language. We're fucking set. All right. Everybody have a good night. Rest up. We'll start again in the morning. They all break. And then Dad stays behind. Montrose, Michael K. Williams. And within 30 seconds of being alone with her, slits her throat.
I was like, so Dad's evil. All right.
He says, I'm sorry. And then just slits her throat.
Yeah. I was like, oh, so Dad's evil. Because they also hinted at earlier, because he was like, motherfuckers, why are y'all still trying to do this magic shit? We need to not piss these people off. And it was always hinted that he knew more about the Sons of Adam than he let on. And so when he slits her throat, I'm like, okay, so he's just evil. He's one of them. He's got some secret plot he's doing to this, which he's not. But
right,
I thought he was in that moment.
Now is this also the episode where the butler goes to the bar to meet Ruby?
I believe.
Or is that in the next episode?
That's the next episode.
Okay.
Oh no, Butler meets Ruby in this episode.
Right. The bar scene where they meet is this episode.
He does it after he beats the shit out of the cops. He then gets in his car.
Right. He's like, I have a date.
Yeah. Oh, another standout moment from the beginning of that episode, because that was episode 4, right? Fucking uncle or dad Montrose drinking and then just setting something on fire and then just being like, smells like Tulsa. And it's like, holy shit, what the that was just a powerful scene.
Yeah.
Just smells like Tulsa.
We're barely halfway through this. We're not even halfway through this.
I know. So, episode 5 is Freaky Friday. The episode. Essentially. Like Ruby wakes up and she's white.
Yeah, it's a lot of that one.
Yes.
It's a lot of that.
Tick also beats the shit out of his dad for killing the girl.
Yep.
And just like, don't you ever fucking talk to me. He does that a lot throughout this series. Treats his dad like fucking shit, but apparently his dad treated him like shit when he was younger. Not saying it makes right, just explaining it. He just constantly, like, every opportunity he gets to find something else out about his dad that he doesn't like, he like hits him with the I've never been your son, I never want to be your fucking son, you a piece of shit, don't talk to me. And then comes back to him later, so Dad, I need you to do this. We gonna be cool now. But then, yeah, son, but I'm gay. Motherfucker, fuck you! What the fuck? What? Jesus! All those times you beat me so I wouldn't go soft. Which, and that, well, again, it's not right, but I understand the frustration given the time and the characters.
Yeah. It's it's a tough road for them all.
Yeah.
So other things in episode 5, I mean, it's mostly the Ruby story.
Yeah.
And at the end of that is when we just like she's confronting William about what he's doing in the basement all the time.
Yeah.
And then William goes.
Because she meets Christina early in the episode too.
Right.
And she's like, what the fuck
Christina's
are y'all
hanging
two
around
up
the
to?
house.
Why is William telling you shit about our personal lives and shit like that?
Yeah. And so, and then Christina William transforms into Christina. We discover that probably since the mansion destruction in episode 2.
Yeah.
Since then, Christina, anytime we see William, it's actually Christina.
Yes. They've been the same individual, just using her metamorphosis spell. Correct. To transform into
the same spell that Ruby has been using to work at the department store all episode.
Yes, where she meets an asshole manager and eventually gets vengeance on said asshole manager in epic fashion.
Does.
She does. Yeah. So.
All right. Anything else in episode 5?
It ends with what's his name calling Atticus tells Letty that he knew this girl named Gia back in the day, and that's the closest thing he's had to a relationship outside of Letty, or it ended weird, but whatever. And then at the end of the episode, he calls her again, and she's like, I told you not to go home. Do you believe me now? And he like hangs up again. I'm like, this Gia person knows something. And that's what takes us into episode 6, which is the Gia episode. I'm pretty sure. Meet me in
Daegu. Probably a town in Korea or some place in Korea.
Yes, and this is the whole episode is about Gia's backstory, where she meets Tick and how she falls into the story and scared, and then pretty much how she scared him into going back to America.
Right.
Which, I mean, it was weird starting with like clang, 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 goes the trolley. I'm like, what the hell is this? And her like singing along with it and stuff like that. It was cool though. And the weird speed dating thing. And then they get to the HBO scene and it's like, all right, let's go HBO. And then the guy gets, for lack of a better phrase right now, I'm going to say he gets tentacled. Apparently those were tails. Because apparently Gia is a kumiho, which is
a nine-tailed fox.
Which is like a kitsune mixed with a succubus. And the nine-tailed fox is kitsune, yeah. So yeah, it's like a nine-tailed fox that succubizes people and takes their souls. Apparently, her dad was an asshole when she was younger, and her mom, to get revenge on him for molesting kids, summoned the Kumiho into her own daughter, who then took the man's soul when he tried to molest her. However, the Kumiho wasn't going to leave the daughter's vessel until it took 100 souls. And so her mom like kind of lived with shame of having a monster for a daughter, but she kept trying to
is
get her
also
to do
simultaneously being her pimp a little bit. It's like, go take souls, take souls. I want my daughter back.
The only way she can take people's souls is in the manner of a succubus, which is by fucking them. So she's like, keep bringing him into house and killing him. And it's like, damn. And she's like, "Don't call me mom."
At the moment of the male climax, her tails come out outside of her control, kill the dude, and she immediately sees his entire life.
Yes.
Sees and knows his entire life of what has happened up until this moment when she's about ready to kill him. Eventually she meets Atticus.
Yes, because around that time the war starts and he's one of the soldiers that comes over there, and we do see him do what, the dark side of what happens in war and stuff. Like when they're accusing people of being a communist and they weren't talking, so he was one of the soldiers that just came up and popped someone in the head to get the others to talk. One of them who happened to be Gia's best friend. And so Gia's like, you know what? Fuck it. Because I think she was conveniently at 99 souls at that time. And so she was like, fuck it. That's going to be the last guy because this dude needs to die. I'm going to seduce him. But I don't know how I don't know how long ago he killed her friend. But the fact that he didn't recognize her, because he clearly messed with him. Like, the scene of him doing it was like, he clearly, like, had problems coming to terms with the shit that he had done. Yeah. But I'm like, she was literally right next to her. How do you not recognize that this is... Maybe it's been a while. And they're, like, fast-forwarding through time just to get the whole backstory in there. Mm-hmm. But they eventually... start actually having feelings for one another.
Right. Yeah. He kind of seduces her back.
Yeah.
And they both start to fall for each other in almost a genuine way.
So that was cool. They eventually have things, and then comes the time where the cameoing occurs for him. But he snaps out of it like halfway through and like, oh God, where he scares her and he's like, what the hell are you? She's like, I'm sorry, I'm Camille. Because she manages to sleep with him without killing him a couple times, I think, because they had a relationship, or at least once, I thought they slept together at least once because he's like, I can keep my tails in my control.
I don't remember that.
And then eventually, maybe, yeah. But she kept the secret from him because her mom's like, does he know what you are? She's like, no, I can keep my tails under my control, Mom. I've done so. Stop calling me a mama. Well, you're my mom. You got to deal with it. No, I'm not. Which, not a fun existence to be like, this is mother. No, you only think it because you're possessing my daughter. But, they come out by accident. She almost kills him, and he runs, because I would too. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not trying to hear any of that shit. She's like, no, just look at me at home. Calm down. They're taking control of my bed. He gone. He goes back to, he's like, you can't go back to America. You're going to die. Because apparently she saw his future, and in his future, he dies in a cruel way if he goes home. He's like, well, I ain't staying here with you, whatever that is. And he goes home, which in the first episode, he makes a call to Korea. So was like, you went home? You shouldn't have. So yeah, that pretty much that. Then she gets a weird prophecy from a shaman lady about her life and her future, because she's like, what do I do now? Because I actually have feelings for a human. So that was crazy. But that's pretty much that episode. Yeah.
And then we're on to we're at episode 7 called I Am, which is going to be Hippolyta's episode, basically.
Multiversal self-discovery.
Yes. She discovers some items in the rubble at the mansion that lead her to slowly figuring out the whole deal. And eventually they head to the coordinates that are in the orrery to which leads to kind of like a telescope building that is a time machine.
Yeah.
And yeah, chaos ensues.
Chaos does.
She falls into it. So does Atticus. Atticus pops out very quickly and is left with the ruins of the room and bounces the fuck out of there because who wouldn't? Hearing the sirens.
That's the second time we've mentioned that.
Yeah.
Atticus GTFOs because, yeah, so would I.
Yeah. And then we get Hippolyta's perspective of what happened.
This is a cool episode. Like, there's a lot of stuff in this one. Let's see. So, oh yeah, by the way, the comic that she finds conveniently unburnt, unlike everything else, is just Orinthia Blue by D. Freeman. Like, all right.
Yeah.
I forget but anyway, Christina also reveals everything to Ruby about there's magic and I hate your family and I'm gonna use your family to do magic. So that happens. We get more dreams about from when they were running away from the house the first time. Some black lady who we assumed to be his ancestor and later confirmed to be his ancestor that would run ahead and look back at them. And we got another one of those this episode.
Yes.
Because that's ongoing.
Yeah, Atticus and Letty are now sharing the same dream, which we'll find out in this episode. Why?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think they mentioned something about the Book of Names, and they're like, yeah, that burned in the fire way long ago, or burned in Tulsa. Like, they thought they could have had the Book of Names, but it burned.
Right. Is this the episode where? Is this also the episode where Atticus goes to St. Louis, or is that in the next one? Yes, Atticus goes to St. Louis in this episode. Okay. And so he's talking to one of his family members or a friend of one of his family members, and that's who reveals to him of like everything burned up in Tulsa, baby. Yeah.
So yeah, they mentioned that. Yeah, I'm like, of course the book burned in the fire. Well, at least they got the orrery and the key, for the thing. We got the universal, and yeah, this is the episode where I realized Hippolyta was like really fucking smart because she was just like putting shit together at the thing to like make it work. Just all right, I'm gonna take these degrees and right, like Jesus, like nah, she on top of everything. Then she had the Josephine Baker shit where she's like, I am Hippolyta, I wish I was dancing with Josephine Baker. So in Paris, Josephine Baker, lots of cool
it's
shit.
A really cool concept of multiverse hopping. I wonder if that's an egg, if that's a starter thing, one of those starter things that they pulled from Lovecraft himself. But to be able to just be like, I am blank a this, and then boom.
She goes from
So she goes from Josephine Baker to a warrior,
which always awesome random warrior shit.
Then she goes to have some time with George.
She's like wife
and then
with George
and then remembers that she never really liked him in a way.
Yeah, right.
And then she takes
him with her to like
she takes him to do some.
Holy shit, she could take him with her.
Yeah. And then eventually decides to come back.
She eventually is like in space, just in space. I'm like, this is a trippy ass episode. And then she gives up all the cosmic power she has so she could be there for her kids. You know, she's like, I'm Hippolyta, mother. And I'm like, she give up the power, the cosmic power to be there for the kid, which is the right thing to do. That's another reason I don't want to have kids. I want to keep my cosmic power.
Yeah, I want to be able to just name myself. That's pretty cool.
But she left the comic behind or something like that. But at the like scene of the thing, which leads to other stuff, because someone dies in that, doesn't there? Like someone gets shot or something like that on the villain side. Because they take the comic. There's a reason they're there. They're looking for Hippolyta.
Because one cop is missing because he got thrown into the gateway, and then there was another one that was just a dead body shot on the ground.
Okay, yeah.
And then that's the one that had Dee's comic next to him. Yeah.
Which leads into episode 8. Jigabombo.
Yeah. So this one is, as many of these episodes are, set around a prominent moment in the Black American struggle for rights and equality. And this one would be the Emmett Till Memorial in Chicago. I think this is kind of the start of this episode, this show being a little bit more powerful for me than just a normal TV show, because of the terrible way in some ways we educate folks that look like me.
Yeah.
And how I had heard the name Emmett Till, but I couldn't have really told you his story. And I'm really glad I know now. And it kind of sucks that it had to be told to me in a show about monsters and magic.
Yeah.
But that same topic is also included in the episode that would be next in the Tulsa Rewind, or Rewind 1921, which is them going back to the Tulsa Massacre. Yeah. Which, again, I kind of needed a show about monsters and magic, and then a guy to decide to do a weird continuation of The Watchmen, for me to learn about Tulsa, which is terrible.
Yeah.
And something I should have known a long time ago.
Yeah.
So those are two notes that I just had to touch on, because these two episodes, it really hits on a different level of like, how the fuck do you not know about this, Bill?
Yeah. And so that hit me hard too, with the Emmett Till thing and how hard it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also in this episode, aside from in the crux of it, I guess in the show they made it where Dee was a friend of Emmett's, and they had referred to him as Bobo. It's the title
Correct.
of the episode.
Rewind to episode 3, Holy Ghost. At the house party in the basement, the young kids are playing with a Ouija board. And the first question asked when the camera lands on these children is, am I going to have a good time on my trip? And the Ouija board immediately goes to no. And then somebody says, quit joking around, Emmett. We meet Emmett Till in episode 3, hanging out with Dee at Tilly's house.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were close. Dee clearly takes it hard.
Yes.
Understandably so.
Mm-hmm. And also from around episode 3, overly racist cop dude finds Dee because she can't take it. She can't go to the funeral like everybody else because obviously this is very intense. Also, her mom has been missing since last episode. And her dad's
dead. Mom's missing. Maybe best friend, good friend. Well, all we know is good friend is Emmett Till.
Yeah. So she's like, no, I can't be here at this funeral. So she starts walking around the city alone, and she gets cornered by cop dude from earlier in the series, and he's like,
he's hunting specifically for her.
Yeah. Hunting for her so that he could, because he had the little comic with like her fucking name on it, and he's like, also, where's your mom at, and all this stuff, and he ends up cursing her, and she starts getting
literally
yes, she is cursed, and she starts hallucinating things chasing her, which at one point becomes two like living incarnations of the drawings from the cover. I think it was Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Right.
Yeah, they come to life and spend the rest of that episode, at the very least, chasing her around the city, trying to murder her. And also they could try to get, because Hippolyta found the orrery and knew how to make the machine. They're like, we got to find this, blah blah blah. So they were trying to get to her family through her because they couldn't get into the house when they wanted to search it because of the curse shield put up in episode 3.
Yep. There's a lot of foreshadowing in that episode. We're finding out,
right? For episode 8.
Yeah, this curse is brutal. It is very scary. It gets my anxiety up super high. What they're doing with the score and the actress playing Dee, her reactions and her fear. It's very well done, and I'm with her every step of the way. And yeah, she formulates, like, I don't know why, I guess because the adults have not been open about what's been going on. She also doesn't know that they are simultaneously dealing with a bunch of magic shit.
Yeah.
So she's not about ready to tell these adults that are dealing with adult things currently.
Yep.
Some crazy magic shit. She knows that they are not going to believe her.
Yeah. And that is one of those things I put on here where I was like, yeah, this series, like many, helps exemplify the importance of actually talking about shit with people.
Yeah, communication, folks.
Jesus Christ!
If they would have just told each other, like, "Hey, so your mom and dad are dead." Well, I mean, we think your mom's dead, but no confirmation yet. But both of them is because of this crazy fucking magic bullshit we've been getting ourselves wrapped into. And then she can finally be like, oh, well, you've got me wrapped into it now too, motherfuckers. I think I'm cursed. Some crazy white cop came and spit on my face. Yeah. And now I see this demon.
Exactly.
These two demons.
Also, what's their names? Ruby and Christine start getting more and more intimate with one another. And yes. I was like, this relationship is all kinds of weird. Not because lesbians, but because of the shape-shifting shit. And the demetamorphosizing while they're doing their stuff. And like the skin
that's a pretty crazy scene.
Yeah, so that's what's weird. That's why I'm like, this relationship is weird because of that.
that's a pretty I don't know if there can exist a more graphic scene.
Can't think of one right now.
It's pretty intense, and I don't want to describe it verbatim. I guess if anybody who has made it this far has not yet seen this show and is really curious, episode 8 of this series, I don't know how a show could be more graphic in a depiction of something.
Yeah. Also, Gia's here in America now.
Yes, she has arrived. She shows up at Letty's house and apparently tells Letty everything before Atticus even shows up.
Yes. And then it was like, and he gets mad. I'm like, he was like, and he starts saying like rude shit, to Gia and everything. And I'm like, I can't say I wouldn't be angrily confused in this situation, but he also didn't need to tell Gia, like, he's like, what we had wasn't fucking real, okay? Get the fuck out of here, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you don't need to go that far. Be mad, like, why the fuck are you here? I got my own shit to deal with. I don't need your whatever the fuck that was right now. Okay, but to then try and come back hand on shoulder, like, listen to me and listen well. We never were a thing.
Yeah, he's pretty brutal in that moment.
But yeah, and what was it? There was something going on in the episode.
Like, none of our characters are flawless.
No.
None of them. Letty is pretty awful to Ruby.
Yeah.
And Atticus has some moments where you don't want your hero of the show necessarily reacting like that. Like when he finds out his father is gay.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily want the hero that you're rooting for 5 episodes to react so poorly. But it's 1950 something. This is a man who has beat him half to death on many occasions, we have to believe at this point. Convinced him that his only recourse to convince his father that he is a man was to go into the army and join a war. That's the only way Dad would finally look at me as a man. And that's the man that he finds out is a homosexual. Does that mean anything in a modern day? No. But in this time, you have to allow this main character to have some bad reactions to things. And then also when this kaiju lady, or not kaiju, when this crazy lady shows up, he's a little pissed about it. He's trying to start this relationship. Has he found out that he's about ready to have a baby? Yes. Yeah, he already knows at the start of this episode because he's so concerned about Letty standing in the heat, waiting to see Emmett. So yeah, he's just all kinds of pissed of like, what, bitch, what are you doing in America? Trying to ruin the shit that I got going here. Freak out the mother of my new child.
Yeah, I think he knows, but I don't think he's told her that he knows. I think that's revealed either later in this episode or during the next one, because he's like, I went to the future and saw. So he knew by now because he's already gone out the portal.
Right.
But I don't think they've told each other yet.
Correct. Okay. Also, by this point, Letty meets with Christina in the secret because she is very concerned about Atticus, and wants to trade Christina the missing pages of the book for a invulnerability spell to Atticus. Christina says no, but I will grant one to you. Originally, Letty denies, and then eventually succumbs and takes the deal. She receives invulnerability conveniently right before she gets home, and a mass group of police officers decide that they are going to shoot up the house with 1,000,000 bullets. So that's where we're at there. Like you said, the captain tries to come back, search the house. He can't get in because of the protection spell from earlier in the season. And then I think there's a moment where she thinks they've won, and then it's like, no, it ain't gonna be that easy, and bullets just start flying into the building.
Yeah, she thinks they won because the guy tried to come in and he can't because of the fucking shield.
Yep. Yeah, we're shielded. Cool. That was easy. All right. And then just during that, of course, the master of terrible timing, Atticus, arrives again.
Having had his dad cast some spell on him that
they think has failed.
Because his dad did say he was dyslexic and he's reading a language that, is different.
Right. And nothing happened. It was just quiet. And so he shows up and slowly, one by one, police officers notice a heavy breathing, gigantic black dude just over to their side, and naturally, as a cop does in the 1950s, immediately points his gun at him. And Letty immediately knows, like, this ain't a bad situation. I think Atticus is making eye contact with Letty over on the sidelines of like, all right, well, we all know what's
situation.
This is not going to end well. We know this doesn't end well. And thank you for mentioning. Suddenly, as Bullet is flying towards Atticus, we have a pop from under the street.
Yeah.
Does he just explode from underneath the street?
I believe so, yeah.
One of these giant vampire dog things.
That was in the first episode, but now it's protecting them.
Correct. Yeah, it's kind of his pet.
Yeah, so that's going on. And meanwhile, Dee finally gets found by Montrose, but he sees her like screaming, trying to hit off the thing she's fighting, but he doesn't see anything. So he tries to hold her to calm her down, and that just puts her in place for the beast to get their hands into her and start like taking her life.
Right. He doesn't know, but yeah, he's doing the very thing that she can't do in that moment, which is stay still.
Yeah.
So that is that ends our episode. Yeah. Our two main characters are absolutely drenched in blood as the demon dog like screams at them and then just kind of sits and does like a to Atticus and puts its face on Atticus's hand.
How to Train Your Dragon just
right. It's a How to Train Your Dragon crossover moment.
Just put the hand to face. Like,
all right, episode 9. This is the tough one. I don't know how much we can spend on it. How much you and I can talk on this one.
Well. The summation for people is that, we got to heal Dee. Apparently she's not dead. Hippolyta comes back and we're like, we got to go back in time to Tulsa and get the book of names before it burns down and see the family, back then, backstory as well as the tragedy of Tulsa. And that's pretty much what the episode is. They go back, we see it depicted slowly. We get some revelations, I guess, about how the time travel works, because they were so scared about don't do this, you might change something. You don't do this, you might change something, because, butterfly effect theory about time travel. Right. But it turns out it's more like Doctor Who time travel, where it is do whatever, it was going to happen anyway.
Right. It was always going to happen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you came back in time already. So let's go do it. And that was a cool moment with the I got you, kid. Yeah.
We find out that the story that his dad and uncle have been telling him his entire life about the moment they were saved during the Tulsa massacre was Atticus all along. Yeah, that was a pretty awesome moment. I tell you, like how Michael K. Williams didn't win an Emmy or something off of this episode alone is pretty crazy.
He was in his bag this whole fucking series, but definitely this episode.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work. He's got a lot of work to do on in this episode, and he does it extremely well.
Yeah. Yeah, when she was like sitting in the house and the house was on fire and she's like, I can't burn. It's okay. I got invulnerability. I was like, you can't burn, but the book can.
But yeah, she's like
I knew what she was doing.
It's kind of working as like a force field, I guess. Yeah.
But I get that and get the symbolism behind staying there. Like, no, I can't just abandon y'all while this happens. But I'm just like, you can't burn, but the book can, and that's the whole reason you can't. But the book was fine. The book was fine, and then they were.
Yeah, that's at the end. When she's walking down the street, I understand it's dramatic, but on my couch, I'm like, run, bitch, run. You have no idea what Hippolyta's going through right now. Run.
I said, cool moment and all, but hurry up, Letty.
Yeah.
She's just.
I mean, I guess she is drained at that moment.
Also, she loves her slow motion walks in this series.
She is emotionally drained.
She has a lot of slow motion badass walks throughout the series. True. And she's this is another one. I got the book. As Tulsa burned, this black woman did not. And so, went down the street. But yeah, so that's pretty much the summation. Like I said, we get some more details on backstories, but nothing that really
like Michael K. Williams all throughout this episode is just putting in the work, and his stuff with I forget a Tommy or something, a Thomas, which is kind of we learn is kind of the young friend he had that started to spark his homosexuality, and he died in a very horrible way that night. And they kind of have to stand there and watch it again. Which is, that's a really rough one.
Yeah.
But they get back. Hippolyta is having a lot of trouble keeping the gate open. It's basically plugged up into her veins, into her cosmic veins that she came back with. She
has blue hair now.
Yeah, it would transformed into blue hair while she was trying to hold the gate open. She kind of like rogued it. I don't know. You would be able to speak on that.
But yeah, that scene from that movie does pop into my head. Yeah. So yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like as far as that goes, like now her hair's blue because she's literally
overwhelming power changes my hair color. Yeah, so they get out. They have the book. We jump immediately into the final episode where they're like no. Many of these episodes, there's pretty big time jumps of like weeks.
Yeah,
I would say this entire series, these 10 episodes, maybe go over the course of several months, maybe even a year.
Yeah.
But this one jumps off right where we left off. They are racing home to use the book to hopefully help Dee. Jen says out loud, did they really have to drive all the way back to Chicago from Kentucky to do this? And I had the thought, I was like, that's a good point. They do make Christina say in the previous episode that there's incredible magical power in the place of your birth. Like if you're doing a spell about you, being where you were born is very powerful.
Gotcha.
So maybe that's why, and they don't explain it And it's just an easy way to explain why because they just want to come back to the apartment because that set is already built and it looks much nicer than the entire inside of that telescope room. And, but yeah, it's just it's probably just a convenient way to explain why they're doing that.
Because they do get back like.
Right. Yeah, and Jen's like what, they drove all the way from Kentucky to do this. And then so they open the book. Letty and Addie immediately pass out, and they go see their own visions about the ancestors, and we start riding the end game train. Yeah. Of learning pretty quickly. Tick is gonna die. Yeah, he's gotta pull a Jesus.
Yeah, he must die so that others can live and all that stuff. Letty and them. Yes, because Christina this whole time wants to sacrifice Tick so that she can be invincible, like truly invincible, immortal. Don't fuck with me. And also she, throughout the show, has given a whole like anti-male vibe, rightfully so, because women were treated terribly back then and stuff as well, but still very much like no, like when she refused to give Atticus the thing, she's like, no, I'll do it for you, not that motherfucker, because men are just here to use you, men are here to do that, blah blah blah. Sorry, something in my eye. But she like, she's like, I'm just sacrificing this one dude and I'm done. You don't have to see me again. I don't care about your whole family. But he's like my blood, and he killed my dad and ruined the first time I tried to get this to happen. So I'm doing this now. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't be fucking with us. And then she's like, she asked them to give her something, and they were like, fuck you. And so she said, fine, and removed the invulnerability from Letty. Right after I think Letty and Atticus actually mentioned that they both know that she's pregnant. It's like, okay, now they both know. Now it's out in the open. A lot of other things come out in the open because they need a plan to stop her. And they come up with a plan to stop her with the fucking, we're going to set our own magic trap now that the whole family knows that we do magic shit. We don't have to be secretive about it no more. Look how quickly we start coming up with solutions to things.
It seems like this is a spell that Hannah, the original ancestor of Tick's line, has been building in the ancestral realm for decades. She's been slowly cultivating the idea of this what if spell if you had enough magical energy, which that's kind of their game plan, is kind of hijacking Christina's, letting her put in all the legwork and then hijacking the energy of her spell to do theirs. And looks like it's going pretty well for a second there.
Gia in on it too, and I got to a point where it was almost as I was typing it, because they even got Ruby to join in and be like, I got the part you need from her because you need blood from her, so I got some like that. And as they are getting up to the place and as they're setting up, I'm like, so she's got to see through this, right? Because this is going very swimmingly. Not that I don't want her. It's not that I want her to win, but I feel like she's going to see through this. And then, sure enough.
Yeah, I forgot about the Ruby thing. In after my first watching, that was a complete shock to me. I was like, also, I don't think I saw the very final scene right before the credits ever. I think that was very brand new to me. The final scene of D.
Oh yeah.
Jumping ahead. But Yeah, so it turns out Christina caught Ruby trying to fuck with the spell and turned her into one of her metamorphosis zombies. And the whole episode that we've seen of Ruby or the whole day of joining the road trip to the spell location has been Christina masquerading as Ruby.
So
unfortunate, and we only are told that Ruby is dead. We don't know if she's full on dead, if she has any hope of coming out of the like coma thing. Yeah. But Christina tells Letty that she's dead.
Yeah. And when she pushes Letty out the window, I was like, even with the book in her hand or whatever. When she pushes Letty out the window and there's like, Letty's dead too. I was literally like, I don't believe Letty died at all. She has the book. She could have cast fucking invulnerability on herself. like, oh, you removed it. Well, we know how to do magic now. All right.
Yep.
So that's why she removed the invuln. She's like, I don't even need Tick if you just give me the fucking book. And then I don't have to talk to none of y'all. I really don't give a shit. And they're like, nah. Well, fine. Fuck your invulnerability. Okay. So yeah.
And then we pretty much go straight into the spell.
Also, Gia's here.
Conveniently. She's going to she might have a role to play when it becomes basically a live action anime finale.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, yeah, there's not much closer to like a Evangelion style, just fucking crazy shit. So yeah, some brutal shit like the slicing of Tick's arms.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah, I was like, how the hell? What are they gonna cast to make him survive that? Jesus Christ! But yes, the slicing of his arms. This is crazy. The big time climactic moment was ridiculous. Was, like you said, just some weird anime bullshit, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And yeah. Villains defeated. Y'all can watch how. But villains defeated, and the hero does not survive. They had been talking about finding a way to do it without him dying. But the only person that knew that actually believed they would was his dad. And they're like, nah, that this was never going to be the case. But we didn't want to tell you.
Yeah. This was always in the plan. This had to happen. It's rough.
But in the process, they banned white people from magic for all time.
Yeah. That turns out to be Hannah's ultimate plan. That was her big spell. We're just gonna take white people away from magic. They're not gonna get to have it ever again.
And then they go ahead, they escape. You see the sad scene with the letter, and then you have that final scene where Christina's laying there and Dee shows up with the pet. And she's like, this is for fucking cursing me. And she kills it. And I'm like, Christina needed to die. And I'm happy she did. But technically she didn't curse you, D. That was the technically.
Yeah,
my thing was technically she killed the dude that cursed D in the first place.
Yeah,
But
it's a
she
little
needed
bit
to
of a
die.
villainous moment. Like if there was a world where there is a continuation to this story, which there's not, it ends here. I would assume that scene is setting up the future of you're not supposed to trust this little girl.
Yeah, like
This little girl might have dark intentions.
That's what we're following now is the revenge tour.
Like my robot arm and my demon dog. I'd watch that show. I'd probably watch that show.
Yeah. So that's the summation of the series.
All right. Yeah, I think we can skip the whole acting bit. And jump into, let's just do final thoughts, like wrap it up.
Yeah.
The 10 episodes. What'd you think?
I enjoyed it. There were some hard parts, like, man, just because I say things aren't in my wheelhouse doesn't mean I think I won't like them. I just, for the most part, it's like I just don't want to. There's just doesn't interest me watching it. It doesn't mean I don't. I think
Right.
they're incapable of being good, and this is one of those things that's fantastic, even though it's not something I normally would have watched. Kind of like Lady Bird, but in a different variety, where it's like, I'm not gonna like that. Well, I know why I haven't watched this, but hey, it is a very solid series. And yeah, if it were to continue with the robot dog and the demon arm or vice versa, that would be awesome. I'm assuming you would love it because you suggested it. Also, Jonathan Majors being as great as he is.
I really enjoy this show. I think it's not. I think it dropped a little bit in its second rewatch. It's not a huge. I mean, it's a pretty heavy show, so it's not.
Yeah, it's not. I'm a marathon this and
like I said, it makes one think of heavy things, which you got to be in the right headspace to be in. I do appreciate it and HBO's Watchmen for kind of giving this uneducated Midwest white boy a little bit of a history lesson on some things that he probably should have known beforehand. And yeah, all in all, Jonathan Majors. He's going to be a star. I already love him. And you have my money.
all right, there you go. So that was this week. I just remembered that I was supposed to think of something that you hadn't seen. Haha. So I will go not equal. I'm not going to try to like match theme for theme. Like, oh, you showed me an Oscar movie, I'm going to show you an Oscar movie or something like that. Now I'm going to go with The Greatest Showman. I believe that's the musical about P.T. Barnum, right?
Wolverine, right?
Yeah. with Hugh
Wolverine
Jackman.
joins the circus.
Yes.
That's that movie?
Yeah.
All right.
Greatest Showman. We'll do that. We'll follow up with that next week. And yeah, you want to find me, you can find me on this channel. You know the name of the channel, Feo Grande. You can also find me elsewhere on YouTube on the Whatever We Want podcast. New episodes every week, every Wednesday. You can also find me on Twitter and Twitch at Giotavi. That is Giotavi. Come on in.
Come on in. Stop on by.
There you go. Anything else you want to say to the folks, Bill?
No, go home.
All right. Yes, like he said, go and or stay home. Thank you for watching. Adios. This. Yeah, I'm like, no, like there's definitely not going to be something this time.